Hello, join us this week on Loose Links when we're back to a panel of four ready to talk about maybe your very hometown. This week we talk about a farmer who has sold baby food to a local supermarket, but the supermarket has fought back as they've found glass in the baby food. Find out what we think about when we've been lied to, but we found the truth out in a very different way. Also, we talk about a local celebrity that is doing her driving lesson for the 13th time. Find out when we look back on ourselves about being judgmental in the way that we think things should be done. Also, our final topic is about an appeal for a man that's been assaulted in maybe a town just around the corner from you. Find out if we think it's just too easy to do a crime in the year of 2020. Joining me on the panel this evening, Nicholas James, is Hannah Pierce, Sue Craven, and John Perry. Good evening, guys. Welcome to your first show. Welcome to our two new panellists. Hello, Sue Craven. Thank you for joining our team. And hello, John Perry. Thank you for joining us. We're just going to start on last week's polls because, as we said, and also we've decided as a team that if you start to comment from next week, we will try and get as much as your comments into the show as well. But last week's polls, Lincoln, are you venturing out and are you ready to step out your front door? 60% said yes, 20% said no, and 20% said they're not stepping out the door until 2020 is over. Also, are you frustrated with wearing a face mask? 88% yes, 12% no. Also, cancelling events. Are you ready for events to be cancelled in 2019? 85% said yes, 15% said no. So we had quite a lot of voting. Thank you for voting out there because it really does affect the show and it gets us talking. Also, big news this week as one panellist has decided to take the plunge and become even more of an adult. And that's Hannah Pierce. Congratulations, Hannah Pierce, as she's moved in with her boyfriend and bought her very first house.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How do you feel? Do you feel more adult?
Yeah, I do. There's lots of boring jobs involved. It's lovely, but there's lots of boring things too.
There's no mum there cooking your tea anymore,
No.
or making your bed or anything like that. That's all gone out the window now.
Yeah.
Right, so our first topic this evening is we go live over to Market Raisin. Good evening, Market Raisin. As we talk about a farmer from Lincolnshire that has been found guilty of contaminating baby food with metal as a 1.4 million scheme, he's tried to blackmail the supermarket. So, guys, as you know, you sent over the stories. Have you had a chance to have a read of the story, and what's your view on it?
I mean, there's not going to be very many different views, I don't think, amongst the panel, because there is nothing much to say on it apart from the fact that it's just absolutely awful, isn't it? I mean, you can't, it's just, he has done the unthinkable, hasn't he? There's not much more to it apart from the fact that there's no other blame but on himself, and I don't feel like there's not two sides to the story, is there? It is as it is. It's awful, really.
I don't know what drove him to do it.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, as you say, it is a serious crime, but how did he think he was going to get away with it? He can't really be of sound think that, and he must be desperate for money. What situations is it in to try and think that he could bribe them to give him money? You wonder what else is in the story that we don't know.
Yeah. Did you have a chance to read the story, John?
Yeah, I read it and I followed it a little bit more, sort of thing. But yeah, I agree with the two other ladies. But my sort of one thing I had got against it really was to pick on children. That's,
Yeah.
well, they're not even children, are they really? Eating baby food. What have they done for him to pick on toddlers, you could call them? They're not children, are they? Because it's baby food. So what have they done to warrant that? You could go to the next step up, and what has a child done to warrant that? What has an adult done to warrant that kind of action? I'm sorry, but he gets everything he deserves.
Absolutely.
With the chap at all. It's one of those things when you go back, is you reap what you sow. Sorry about the pun being involved with it being a farm. That's by the by. But he was responsible for all his actions.
Yeah,
and
he
then
was.
to turn around and say, oh, well, it was so and so and so and so and so and so. No, at the end of the day, you've got found out, and you take the punishment. Unfortunately, I would imagine the punishment doesn't fit the crime sometimes. And it might not in this instance. But my biggest complaint about it is, is the fact that he picked on toddlers, and that to me, they don't know any different.
No, exactly. And I think like a lot of people will pass the story because they don't think it affects me. But I think it hits more home when you've either got grandchildren or children at that age. I've recently become an uncle, so I was quite disheartened by this, that my sister could go into a supermarket and pick up some baby food, and like they said in the story, literally babies were pouring from their mouths with blood. And I just think, as a parent, if you see that, you're going to be thinking, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
And actually it's got nothing to do with how you're parenting. It's how the product has been sold.
Yeah. I think similar to Sue, it makes you wonder a little bit what was going through his head, but also what other things is he capable of? I mean, it shouldn't have got to this stage, but thank goodness he's been found now, because quite evidently there's no barrier or no understanding there that he's really done anything wrong, is there? So what else was he capable of?
But putting that story to the side, because I don't want to give him much airplay, really, to be honest.
No,
Putting that story to the side. Can you remember? Sorry, John.
So that's the other thing, is for what he's done. I know you do discuss these things even at work and through social media and whatever else, and when you're out and about. But the chap as well, I don't think warrants the time to make that discussion for what he's done. I appreciate the fact that you do talk about these things, but that person went out of his way 100% to damage toddlers. That's the biggest thing I have about it. As I say, if it had been his mate that's over the farmer's field who's an adult, get on with it. But to actually pick on somebody that doesn't know any different and thinks, gosh, there's some food there, I'm going to eat it.
Yeah.
So relating to that then, relating it maybe back to your life, can you remember a time where you've ever been lied to, but you've been lied to your face, but you found out a different way, somebody different has told you the truth, and you found out the first story you've heard has been a complete lie?
Sorry, John.
Most of us have over the years, but mine sort of goes back umpteen years ago, and you tend to sort of look at people now and before you sort of get too close, too not emotional type, but too friendly. You have to make a quick decision. It's this classic words now of risk assessment. And you sort of tend to risk assess who you're talking to and what they look like. And then you say,
yeah, we do that personally.
I can speak to that person because I can see that they're switched on, they're up to date, up to speed, and I'm happy with that. But it's something I've learned from a bad experience years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
Thought,
so what do you?
I'm not having it again.
Yeah. What do you think? What was you going to say, Hannah? What was you going to?
I obviously don't want to speak about the situation itself, of course, but but I think we've all been in situations like that where we've trusted one person, we've heard another thing. I think for me, it totally sort of devalues a relationship and a friendship, doesn't it? And I think that's what John was saying, that actually you sort of learn from it. And when I reflect on, or when I was reading this and I read the question and I was thinking about it, I thought actually all the moments that have made me think about that, I was at secondary school, primary school, I was much younger than I am now. And I was thinking, I wonder if I've got anything I can talk about in the last year or two. And then I thought, no, I haven't, because I've probably learned as I've grown older, like John said, what makes a good friend, what are the right things, and that sort of, what you're looking for in a friendship. So, yeah, and I'm sure Sue feels the same, but I've sort of learned as I've gone along, actually. And actually I had lots of those situations when I was younger, not so much now.
Can you share one with us, Sue, if you had that experience?
Yeah, I think, yes, I have. And I think is exactly what they've both said. I think if you learn, it hurts, and it hurts like Billy-O, but you walk away and you might try and, in my situation, I try to forgive the person, but I would never forget. Mm-hmm. And yes. There was not, I would say hello, but I would not include that friend in my friendship circle again. And I think, as you say, when it happens, you walk away, you become stronger in a way, because you think, well, I've done that, I've survived that, I can do that. And you do become a better judge, and you don't give yourself, I don't think, as readily. I think you tend to think to yourself, gosh, I'm going to think about that. I'm not going to jump in with a relationship or say, oh, yes, they're my best friend, until you've really got to know them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think as I get older, I don't want to confirm that, but as I get older, I have realised that my true friendship circle, I can count on one hand.
Yeah.
And when it comes to relationships, without going into too much detail, I think I was love blind. And now it's really funny, isn't it? Because it's, without going into detail about it, but now in hindsight and looking back, it's really, I'm completely different to the man I was 2-3 years ago. I've needed help doing that, and I'm quite happy to admit that I've needed help doing that. But there was a sign on a social media platform, I'm not going to announce it, but there was a sign on social media that said something like, isn't it funny that when you look back at your exes and you look at them and think, you're really not my type. And yeah. I think I got that after the ending of both of my relationships, really. I think I just needed the need to be loved. And I've found that now within myself than with somebody else.
Yes.
Anyway, see what you guys think. You're the fifth panel member out there. Remember, please share your views on being lied to, hurt, or what you think of this farmer. We are on all social media platforms. We are on the Facebook group. We are on Instagram, and we're also on Twitter. Also, can I do a big shout out tonight as well? If you've joined the Facebook group, we also have a Facebook page. So please look out for that and like the page. We are growing in number on the group, so that's fantastic. And the views last week for last week's show was amazing. Thank you so much. So moving forward, I want to talk about Scarlett Muffet, who has failed her driving test for the 13th time, but has finally taken the plunge on doing driving lessons all over again. So, after trying something once, are you a person to give up and moan about it, or are you a person to try again?
Try again. I would. Took me 5 times to take my driving test.
2.
Yeah, and I would not, and I wouldn't give up. There's lots of thought I wouldn't give up. There's been exams I've taken at the end of my degree, and I needed this maths, and I'm hopeless, but I went on and on and on. It was my last time, but I thought, no, I'm not giving up, and I got it.
Well done you!
Yeah.
What about you, Hannah? Are you a give up, or are you a let's give it another shot?
I'm actually a bit of both, if I'm allowed to be.
Oh, yeah.
I am a little bit, because I do something once, and this is religious. I do this religiously. This isn't just the sort of once off. I do it all the time. So I do something once, and then I can't do it. So then I'll have a bit of a hissy fit, and I'll be really stubborn. I can't do it. I can't do this. I absolutely cannot do this. And then I'll sit there for maybe half an hour in a bit of a grump, and I'll think, oh, I just can't do this, and I'm so annoyed. And then half an hour later, I'm trying it again. So I am a little bit of both. But in the end, to be fair, I don't give up. To be honest, I do. I did I passed first time, which was lucky. But then I did my advanced driving test, and I had to sit that, I don't know, two or three times. And then I went to university, and there was loads of hurdles then. So yeah, I am a little bit of both. I do sort of have a bit of a strop for a while, and then once I've had my moment,
really? I've never seen that. Never.
Once I've had my strop, I'm fine.
What about you, John?
I think it depends what, like the two ladies said. I didn't go to university, so I don't know that kind of lifestyle. But yes, I think sometimes it depends what it is you're doing, sort of thing. And if it's out of your comfort zone at the time, sort of being a male and not being one for doing cooking, if it doesn't quite work, then you look at YouTube or you look at the book and you read the book again and again and again, and it still comes out the same. In the end, you turn around to somebody and say, make me a cake, because I've just tried it, and you give up in the end. Now, other things you're thinking, yeah, I can dig the ground over, so you have a go at it. It doesn't quite work. You get a bit of help from somebody, and you think, yeah, I'll keep doing that because it works. So I think sometimes it depends really what the end result's going to be. Like the two ladies did a university degree, so you've got something at the end of it, and you know full well there is an end result of that. I have to put the effort in to get this, and I want this sort of thing. It's like a driving test at the end. You just keep going and going and going, because you know there is a result at the end that you're in control of. If you're in control of that university degree or that period of time, so it's up to you to put the effort into it. It's when you're at home, you have to put the effort in. So if you put the effort in, you'll get the rewards.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I've tried. It gets better and better and better and better. Yeah. At the end, then you do say, well, yeah, it's not perfect. Because like making a cake, as I say, my partner will make a cake and it'll be perfect. I've got 6 goes.
Apart from if I bake.
Perfect. So I think it really depends on the situation, what you're asking.
Yeah, exactly. Completely agree on that. But in the same respect, when it comes to maybe a partner or a family member or something, and you've asked them to come round to help you do something, so they're out of the kindness of their hearts coming round and doing something for you, and then you turn out to be quite judgmental. And you go, no, it's not done like that. It needs to be done like this. This is how it's done. And you almost take over. Are you one of those people, or are you quite relaxed? Actually, this person is coming to help me. And I'm thinking on the grounds more partner-wise than I am friend.
Yeah, I have. The other thing is when you have somebody around and they say, oh, you do it this way, and you do it this way, and it works. And you go, I've tried that and it didn't. And then at the end of the day, you think, well, yeah, we'll try it. And then it doesn't. You've got that little wry smile and face, and you go.
Hannah, I could see you with a whip out. I could see you with a whip out on how things are done.
Yeah, I wonder whether Adam will watch this tomorrow, but I'm sure he'll know what to expect. Actually, now you've mentioned, I know we're sort of focusing more on sort of relationships, but my parents, because I've moved house, have been very kindly, and Adam's parents coming up most weekends to help us do things at the house and almost teach us a bit with, we haven't built things before, and, so they've been coming up and helping us put things up. And when it comes to my mum and dad, I think because the respect that you have for different relationships are very different. So my mum is very much a perfectionist, so I know that if she does something in my house, I know it's done perfectly. My dad will ask me for my opinion, I'll say it's fine, but then Adam, because I'm very comfortable with him and I don't have that relationship I have with my parents, yes, I am awful, like really awful. And I'm more than happy to do lots of things in the house, and Adam will say, oh, you do a lot here and stuff, but that's because if I don't do it myself, I feel like the job hasn't been done. And that, I sound like a really awful person, but I just know how I like things.
And Sue Craven, if you tell me for one split second that you are not an organised person within the home.
I admit that I have to put my hands up. I am exactly like Hannah. I have to do it. It's my. I've got to do it that way. I am getting better though. I am. Just
your husband, is he quite good at just going, oh, okay, Sue, I'll do it your way? Is he quite good at doing that?
No, he isn't. He'll either say, well, get on with it then, or I'm this way. So that's how we compromise.
I like that. Talk to us at home. Luckily, I'm a person single, so I do it my way, or it's the highway for me. But if you're a person at home that's very, very regimental in the home and you like the way things are done, come and tell us about it. Come and tell us your funny stories, because I swear they'll be shared online. We go over to our final topic this evening. Good evening, Skegness. We're back talking, but not on a very high subject of Skegness, unfortunately. There was a man, there's an appeal by the police that a man has been assaulted in a Skegness bar at 1 a.m. on July the 31st. 23-year-old man left assaulted and he's broken his jaw. If this was your story, and it was your family member that did it, or your son or your daughter, how would you feel?
If they'd done the injury,
yeah,
shot them. I'd make them go to the police, even if I went with them.
Would you?
Oh, I would.
Yeah.
Think that they'd done that, even if it was provoked. You know, I would. I'd make them go. Oh, definitely.
What about?
It's a tricky one. Sorry, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Really, because I watch lots of crime programs. Doesn't sound very nice, but I do. I'm into all the stuff like that. But I watch them because I like the psychology behind them. I like understanding a little bit. You know, what made them. What has made them do those things, and why has it happened that way? But I often find the difficult ones to watch, the ones where parents are involved and, you know, their child's done something that's, you know, so awful, and they've done as Sue said, you know, and they've made their child, you know, go and tell the police what they've done or whatever. But I do really feel for any parent that's in that situation where, I mean, I'm not a parent, but I can't imagine loving your child in the way that people, you know, parents do love their children, and then to know that your child did something like that, it just it must be really difficult to, you know, you're not going to stop loving them, but to have a totally different, you know, thought about them must be really, I don't know, it's not very nice, is it?
No, it's one of them things is that I've only got one daughter who's late 20s now, but I often wonder what I would do. But because the way I was brought up, the way I brought her up, I mean, my ex-wife, her mum at the time, brought her up, I'd be absolutely gobsmacked if she did it, because that's not how she's been brought up to act. That would hurt me more than anything of what she'd done, because she's put aside of the way she was brought up for 20 odd years. And I don't do those things, and I didn't do them in my 20s and 30s, and I wouldn't expect her to do it. So it would hurt me more that she'd done something that bad than actually sort of saying, what have you done? It's the fact that you've actually done it. If you've given him a mouthful, or if you've given him that's not the way you've been brought up. You've been brought up to be polite and respectful.
But do you think it's too easy nowadays to commit
Yes,
a crime in 2020?
Yes, I do, definitely. And I, as I say, I've got personal reasons for that, but I still don't. I still think to this day that a lot of it is due to a lack of respect for different people, different creed, colour, religion, whatever you like to call it. There is no respect now, and I think, I know it's not on the subject tonight, but I think the way the country's gone these last 6 months, the respect has got even worse. It's not got any better, it's got worse. You only have to go out now and you get reports in the local press, you get reports on social media of the abuse that people are getting because they can't be bothered to wear a face mask, or they don't wear a face mask for whatever reason. And people will not accept that. And you think, no, that's up to them. You don't question why they've got that. And they're giving a mouthful of abuse behind the tills at the supermarkets and the
scary, isn't it? It's scary. It's a very scary thought. But also, when we think about it, when even my era, I'm only 30, but even my era, how was punishment for you as a child? And was you afraid of the consequences?
I would say I've got a very clear outlook on this due to my job role. So I work in a primary school, and I have done for about 9 years, and that was from going, from primary myself to secondary to sixth form to uni, and then teaching in a primary school. So I've stayed in education pretty much all my life, which has been wonderful. But I have seen education change, and again, I'm younger than you, Nick, but I've seen it change massively from when I was at school.
Not too much.
Only slightly. But I am frightened and worried, very honestly, and I'm sure my colleagues will watch this and they won't mind me saying, we are very concerned and worried for the lack of respect that children have for us and their head teacher. Honestly, my head teacher used to scare the living daylights out of me, and he was lovely, but I knew, and I absolutely knew what was right and wrong at school, and I knew that if I'd done wrong at school I was very remorseful. But I mean, we've been hit by children, we've been sworn at by children, there is very little respect, and I don't know if it is all parenting, to be honest. I don't know if it's social media, I don't know if it's peer pressure, I don't know, but it's really sad actually how different the world is.
So without going too personal, you've been in the same career for quite a long time, working with young children. Have you noticed a dramatic change over that?
I totally agree with Hannah. I agree with John. The respect is not there now. Parents don't seem to. I mean, this is only like a silly thing. But before lockdown, I went down to London and was on the tube in rush hour because I was going for a meeting. And there was a lady, and the seats where they're supposed to sit, there was some young youths. They were in school uniform, but I should imagine secondary. And this lady was clearly needed to sit down. She was old, she was frail. They didn't get up. I said, excuse me, this lady needs to sit down. Well, I got a mouthful of abuse.
Really?
And you just think to yourself, they just have no respect.
No, not at all.
No, they've not been brought up. John said they've not been brought up to like open a door for a lady, to let the lady first say thank you if somebody. They just and as you say, children as young as 5, 6, 7, they're answering back and things. It's not. It isn't. There is respect, and I think a lot of it is social. It is parenting. It's too much TV and it's too much social media. All these things they're watching from a very early age that they shouldn't be.
Well, me and Hannah didn't have that at those sort of ages, did we, Hannah? It was more about playing outside and playing in the park and in the street, and you don't see. I'm on a council estate, and you really don't see a lot of that anymore.
No, do you know? I was just going to say that, Nick, on my new street. So I've moved from a totally different end of town, and my old street didn't have many children around it anyway, but nobody really played out or anything. Before I moved there, I lived on a street that had lots of children on it, and all I did at primary school was go out and play. That I never didn't have a computer or anything. I just went out and played all the time. But on my new street here, we've got lots of children at the bottom end that come out and play all over our street, and yes, they're little monkeys sometimes, but the majority of the time they are just playing. And I said to Adam and lots of people that visited, how nice is it to just see children out playing and they're not sat in on anything. They're getting dirty, they're digging stuff up, they're just being kids, and it's sad really, isn't it?
Exactly. Well, we will be talking more on these subjects. It's been a really interesting show. That brings us to the end of it. Thank you to my wonderful panel. Please, if you're a parent out there with a child and you completely disagree in what we've talked about of respect and behaviour, please contact us, talk to us, make sure your voice is heard as well as ours, and it will be shared on the show. That brings us to the end, so please thank my amazing panel for this evening. John Parry, thank you, John.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies.
Sue Craven.
Thank you.
And Hannah Pierce.
Thank you.
Join us next week when James Benson, Jay O'Connor, and the Queen of Liverpool Street herself is back, Kerry Gillespie, as we talk more topics, more behaviours and more views. But we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.